Welcome into the Paul Farrington Show, a reaction to Week 16 of the NFL season, a solo reaction. But don't worry, we'll be back later this week. Of course, we'll have Andy, Ziggy, and I behind enemy lines coming out on Wednesday morning. And either Tuesday morning or another Wednesday episode, we're going to have the Week 17 predictions episode a little bit early because, of course, with Christmas Day, a bunch of games, we want to get everything out early. And that'll probably be it for the week until the Saturday Green Bay-Baltimore game, which... we'll see what happens with Lamar Jackson here now for Packers fans. But we're not going to work on Christmas. We're not going to do any reactions. There are more important things than Paul Farrington Show reactions on Christmas Day. So hope everybody has a great week. This is one of my favorite weeks of the entire year, hanging out with friends, family. So if you can do it, I know some people have to work. It's unfortunate. But if you can hang out, I hope everyone has a great time and enjoys Christmas. It's or whatever holiday you celebrate, just have a great week here with the people that you love. And if you're choosing time to spend your time with us, really appreciate that as well. We've kind of been bouncing up and down around 29.2 thousand subscribers here, following some of the Green Bay losses. And it's a hard part about this industry where in some ways it's kind of like you're a singer or an actor, right? I mean, you're trying to make it in a really saturated field where there are a lot of talented people who do this, and it's all kind of a battle to get people's attention. And some people do it in interesting ways. I just the TikTok stuff I'm not good at. Maybe one day you'll see it from the Paul Farrington Show crew, but it can be difficult at times. And when the Packers, which is a majority of our fan base, are losing, we lose some subscribers, and it's a battle to try and figure out how to get the next fan base to join in. But we appreciate everybody, of course, who tunes in. We'll have other episodes to get into the nitty gritty of working in sports media. If anyone is interested in a career, reach out. I'm happy to talk with people. Okay, so Week 16 of the season. I would say the games today, but for the most part, pretty good. A couple wild endings. If we go back to the Thursday night and Saturday night game, my gosh, just an unbelievable week of football. We're not going to hit on those too much, especially with the episode with Andy coming out, where we're going to hit on Packers and Bears again. But the first thing that I kind of want to hit on, when you look at the playoff field right now and you think about the teams that are leading their divisions compared to where they were in 2024, we are just in a topsy-turvy NFL season. I mean, it's the year of redemption for a bunch of different teams here. Just run through. In the AFC right now, Broncos lead the conference, 10-7 last year. They were third in the AFC West, but by no means were they as good as they've looked this season. Patriots were 4-13, last in the AFC East. Jaguars 4-13, third in the AFC South. The Steelers were 10-7. Of course, the Steelers hold down consistency there, 10-7, tied for second in the AFC North, or they were second in the AFC North. NFC side, Seattle 10-7, second in NFC West, but they were not competitive last week of the season. They were out. Bears 5-12, last in the NFC North. Eagles, of course, won the Super Bowl. They kind of ruined this. But the Panthers 5-12, tied for last in the NFC South. It's remarkable to see this degree of change. Usually you have, I believe the average is about 7 new playoff teams, six or 7 new playoff teams in the NFL every season. And this year, we're talking about, 6 new division winners. It's crazy what's going on here. But it makes for such a fun playoff because you have this new blood. And in the AFC, right, we're going to have the Bills. We're going to have, even the Chargers and Texans, right? Those are teams that haven't really had much playoff success. They've won a game or two, and the Texans have. Then the NFC, you're going to have the Packers probably. You're probably going to have the 49ers and who's the other one? And the Rams, of course. So those teams will be chasing, but they're going to be on the road for a lot of this. So it's just going to be a ton of fun. The first game I want to start with, another NFC North game, Steelers-Lions, because after the Ravens loss, I waited to the end of Sunday Night Football to do this reaction. The Steelers are in great shape now. It's easy. Beat the Browns. They're hosting a playoff game. And one thing that we've talked about the Steelers for a long time on this show, one of the big problems they have is they keep having to go on the road to Kansas City, to Baltimore, to Buffalo. And it's not, it's not this season's Chiefs or this season's Ravens, even this season's Bills, you could say. I mean, these were like the world beaters, Josh Allen, Mahomes, Lamar. And they're going in there with Mason Rudolph at quarterback. I'm sorry, you just have no shot. You can't keep up with these guys. This year, they're going to have a home game. And Acrisure Stadium, weird things happen, man. The Steelers have weird breaks when they're at home. Any Steeler fan knows about this. And Aaron Rodgers is playing really good football. Today, they went into Detroit when Detroit had their backs against the wall. And we've said for a long time now, this Lions team, how gritty they are, how, when they need to have it, you can believe in them. That just hasn't been the 2025 Detroit Lions. They lost that tag a lot earlier this season. And I'll get to them in a second here. We'll start off with the Steelers. This game started off when you're watching it. A lot of punts. Obviously, Dan Campbell has the big 4th down gamble from the 3-yard line on the Lions' second drive of the game, and they don't get it. They don't convert. That's something that the Lions, you live and die by the sword there as a Lions fan. And when it works, it's great. When it doesn't, it comes back to bite you. And in this game, it ends 29-24. Of course, you can't play the hypothetical game. Those 3 points, the Lions kick a field goal at the end. Every point matters in the National Football League. And it's just, the Lions are aggressive, and it can come back and haunt them at times. A lot of punts after that. And then Kenneth Gainwell has one of, if you haven't seen it, truly one of the most amazing touchdown catches I've ever seen at the very end of the half. It's 10-3 Detroit. Rodgers chucks up a 45-yard pass, and it was very similar to the Antonio Freeman. How did he do that? Or he did what? Packers-Vikings game. I was barely, conscious at that point in my life. Thankfully, that play, Monday Night Football, would have been miserable to experience. But this play, just crazy from Gainwell, catching the ball on the ground, untouched by Alex Anzalone. He gets up, runs into the end zone. We got a tie game at halftime here. Lions fans are going, how is this happening? And then the Steelers, man, this is where, if you're a Pittsburgh fan, you started to get a little confidence. That third quarter, when they came out, they just kicked the shit out of Detroit. And I'm sorry for cursing. They just beat up the Lions. Detroit had the ball for 51 seconds in the third quarter. Outgained 129 to -3. The only drive Detroit had was a safety. And it should have been a touchdown drive on top of what happened because Darnell Washington fumbled the ball on the 3-yard line or the 4-yard line. So the Steelers come out and they just kick ass. Jaylen Warren goes for 143 on the ground. His 2 longest runs since 2023, 2 long touchdown runs. And I know that because my dad was going crazy in his fantasy football championship as Warren was taking another one into the end zone. They were moving the ball well on the ground. Rodgers looked sharp. Metcalf, when he wasn't punching fans, recovered nicely, I would say, after. He was not good in the first half. And you heard Nance and Romo talking about what might be going through his mind. But Metcalf had a couple nice plays. And the Steelers were in complete control, but almost blew it. Detroit had the ball, scores a touchdown the end of the fourth quarter, and Pittsburgh, again, it would have been an 8-point game, but Boswell misses a 38-yard field goal. And Boswell never misses. We took 37 yards. We talk on this show all the time how consistent Chris Boswell is. Jack makes Boswell MVP jokes all the time. He leaves the door open in a 5-point game. And Detroit, because of a pass interference call and a tripping on Jared Goff, they moved down the field. The ball's on the 1-yard line with 22 seconds left. It feels like the Lions are going to walk out of here stealing this game and, frankly, saving their season. And not only saving their season, but putting the Steelers' season in jeopardy. There were massive implications on this game, and it felt like it was over for a large majority of the second half. And all of a sudden now, Detroit's a yard away from possibly, you could say, even being likely of going to the playoffs. Because they're probably in a position where they'd need to beat Chicago, or they could be in a position where they beat Chicago, and they could be in if the Bears lose to the 49ers. Or if the Packers lose one game, the Lions win the next 2 and they're in. And then they implode with an offensive pass interference, false start on a third-string center. And last play of the game, Amon-Ra has OPI. No more time on the clock. Game's over. Season's on life support if you're a Lions fan. So as far as Pittsburgh goes, man, I think you have to be feeling pretty good as a Steeler fan with the way this team's looked the past few weeks. Rodgers, I mean, he's still got it. And with the way this playoff field's developing in the AFC, if they can avoid Buffalo in the first round, just because I don't think you want to have Josh Allen coming in there. If they avoid Buffalo in the first round, Chargers whooped them a couple weeks ago, but they get LA in the cold in Pittsburgh. I mean, yeah, like there's a shot here with the Steelers. This is the best chance they've had in years, and this is why they went out and got Aaron Rodgers, for these late season pushes, so that they can be more than the 10-7 team who gets trampled in the first round. Certainly helps that that the rest of the division decided to, take off, and Burrow's been hurt, Lamar's been banged up. That's been favorable, but they've taken advantage of that. And Metcalf, I don't know what the hell he's doing with the fan. I'll try to reserve judgment until we hear more of this story. The fan came out and just said he used DK's full name, and that pissed off DK, and he walked over, grabbed his hair, and you saw he tried to punch the fan. If that's all it is, it's a real problem. DK Metcalf has to be smarter than that. You're playing for a home playoff game. I mean, in Steelers fans' eyes, they're probably playing for a chance to be a Super Bowl contender. I mean, the way they've looked the past few weeks, they're playing good football. And you need DK Metcalf out there because the rest of that receiving group, it's fine, but you need Metcalf. And I don't know if he's going to get suspended the rest of the year. He could, if that's what ultimately comes out of this, and the fan didn't use a slur or something really crazy. You can't walk over, grab a fan's hair, and punch him. I mean, you could have fans do stupid things. Fans say stupid things. Part of the reason you're paid $1 gazillion is to not react to that. Now, if you have a situation like Lamar Jackson week 1 in Buffalo, where a fan reaches over and pushes him, and Lamar just pushes him, but I have no problem. Like, look, what I read something that's like, you want to dip your feet in the shark-infested water? Okay, but you might get bit. Like, look, if Lamar sucker punched the fan, now we have another story. But if you want to touch these guys and push them, you might expect them to hit back. But if he just said his DK's full name, and that seemingly got in his head so much to walk over and try to hit him, dude, what are we doing here? Like, so I don't know. We'll see what winds up happening. I don't want to talk too much more on that. But if that's the case, it's like, gosh, DK, I mean, you're trying to make a run here. As far as Detroit goes, so Steelers feel pretty good. I almost blew it, but it would have been just a incredulous ending, and it would, man, Packers fans were probably watching that going, are you freaking kidding? After what happened in Chicago, if they had the Lions come back and win, because that really would have put pressure on Green Bay, who now just needs to, if they beat Baltimore in Green Bay, who knows if Lamar's playing, they're in. Or if the Vikings beat Detroit, Green Bay's in the playoffs. It now takes the Lions winning their next 2, Packers losing their next 2 for Detroit to get into the playoffs. And you just have to think that's unlikely. You have to. So just a tough year for Detroit. And you go and you look at the box score. They have 12 carries for 15 yards. Jahmyr Gibbs has 7 carries for 2 yards. I mean, that's not the Detroit Lions team that we've come to know. I talked about them losing their grit. That offensive line, yes, they're on their 3rd string center. Yes, Christian Mahogany's in his first game back. They're just not who they used to be up front. And injuries have played a part in that. But even before the injuries, they're not nearly as good as they used to be. And it's hard when you're replacing Frank Ragnow and Kevin Zeitler. I mean, it's difficult to replace those guys. But man, in the National Football League, seasons change so quick. I mean, teams change so quickly. And we're sitting here 2 years ago when they're in the NFC Championship game, and Dan Campbell saying, I don't know if we're going to get back. I really don't know. And then you have a 15-2 season, depleted by injuries, but you're still feeling like this team, still a young core. Everybody there is so super talented. You lose the coordinators, you lose the interior line, injuries again, and now you're sitting back thinking about the Lions. They do not feel the same at all. They do not feel like the juggernaut they've been for 2.5 years in the Dan Campbell era. You're looking what's happening in Chicago. You have to think in the back of your mind, man, like how much of this was Ben Johnson? And even if, we all agree Dan Campbell's a great head coach, just those thoughts and those doubts start creeping in here. Look at the Bengals. Joe Burrow goes to the Super Bowl in year 2. All Cincinnati fans are probably thinking, here we go. Like, all right, it's us and Mahomes. For like, if we can get past Patrick, we're going to win a Super Bowl here. Injuries start happening. Defense completely falls apart. Lou Anarumo is like thrown out of town. And you don't feel good if you're a Bengals fan right now. Windows close real quick. And I'm not saying the Lions window has closed, because I think they'll come back next year as they get healthier and be very good again. But you just, when you have these special seasons, and maybe in some sense, this is a warning to the Bears, when you have these special seasons, you have to take advantage of them. I mean, the Lions were up 17 points in the NFC Championship game. They were 15-2 last year. And just some unfortunate things have happened. The ball hasn't bounced their way. And now we're sitting here going, Chicago's getting really good. We know the Packers are good. I mean, I'm hoping the Vikings are going to be good, but NFC North is getting a lot harder. And Detroit seems to be moving in the wrong direction. So, I don't know, man. This is a game without TJ Watt playing. Hairbig's out as well for Pittsburgh. And Alex Highsmith was just living in the backfield. I mean, the line did not play well. And I'm sorry, you have to give Jahmyr Gibbs the ball. I know he had 10 catches or something, 13 targets, but you have to get a running game going. You have to find a way. So Lions are in a lot of trouble. It's just been a nightmare season for them. We'll move over to the Vikings. And speaking of nightmare seasons, the Vikings just find ways to really piss you off as a fan. And I said we're going to wind up with the 12th pick in the draft no matter what happened. And we were sitting here at 4-8 a couple weeks ago. I think we were somewhere around the 9th or 10th pick. And obviously since then, we basically get knocked out of the playoffs. And since then, we've been very good. Won 3 games in a row, beat the crap out of the Commanders, beat a Dallas team on Sunday Night Football in Dallas, a place where we've struggled a lot recently. And today, but the good thing about those was that McCarthy was playing well, right? I'm fine winning. It's okay with me if the Vikings win and ruin our draft stock where we're picking 14th. Somehow right now we're picking 14th in the draft, even though this has been an unbelievably terrible season. But it was okay if we kept winning if JJ looked good. The whole point of watching these games right now is to see McCarthy progress. And it felt like we were doing that. Even today, where he had the interception, but it bounces off Naylor's hands, had another interception bounce off Naylor's hands that was returned for a pick 6, luckily called back. And those are issues where JJ was just inaccurate, but kind of an unlucky bounce. And we've seen it happen before, so it needs to be cleaned up. But you also saw a drop touchdown by Addison, and JJ was playing, again, he's playing decent football, winning football at least. And then he goes down again right before halftime. Brian Burns comes around the edge, and we're pushing the ball, trying to be a little cheeky and get a field goal. With Reichard's been unbelievable this year. If there's one bright spot, it's been Will Reichard. But Brian Burns comes around, hits JJ, and you see him on the sideline. If you haven't seen the video, they're working on his hand, and he just, doubles over in pain, like screams, basically. You see Kevin O'Connell's like, what the hell? Like, did he break his hand or something? And he's out the rest of the game. And you have Max Brosmer come in. And Max Brosmer leads us to victory. You're like, gosh, I don't root against the Vikings. You want to see the team winning. I guess it's good for the veterans, but there's also a party that's like, man, we got to get this draft pick here. And if JJ is not going to play, this is the worst case scenario. So we're going to sit here now. We're going to be picking 14th in the draft, or who knows, we'll probably beat Detroit and wind up flipping with them. But we actually would flip with them, wouldn't we? Jeez. Gosh, we wind up picking behind the lines. But the bigger problem here is we're trying to watch JJ McCarthy progress, and he's not on the field. And I can't get mad at the guy for getting hurt. Football players get injured. And they're tough dudes. Like, I'm not out there. And if someone comes around and hits you in the hand, I guess you're going to get hurt. And if JJ, tears his meniscus last year, he tears his meniscus. Like, you can't get mad at guys for getting hurt. Football's a tough sport. But you could get frustrated because we need to see this guy progress, and we need to see him improve, and we need to see him on the field so you can make a decision about the best course of action for this football team. And if JJ's not going to be on the field, the sample size we have isn't big enough. And the sample size of him playing well is even smaller. So how can you sit back if you're Kevin O'Connell this offseason, you go with 100% confidence, JJ McCarthy's the guy to lead us forward next year? It's another gamble. And it's a gamble that so far hasn't paid off. Sam Darnold's 11-4. He's the 1 seed. Rodgers is winning the AFC North. And here we are with JJ, who can't be on the field. He's been hurt 3 times this year. So it's a tough spot. And I don't really know what the right answer is. You go and try and get Kyler Murray. Kyler's not going to want to be a backup. Kyler's going to want to play wherever he goes. I don't know. I just don't know what to do. And I'm sure no one's more frustrated than Kevin O'Connell and JJ McCarthy. I believe the x-rays came back negative, which is good. And hopefully we could see him against Detroit and Green Bay. But I mean, this is a problem. This is a problem now. And it's one that doesn't seem like it's going to go away. I'm rooting for the kid. I really am. I want him to do well. It seems like it's going to be an uphill battle for us. And, defense did a nice job today. Jackson Dart didn't complete a pass, I think, till the end of the second quarter, which is pretty funny. He had an interception, but no completions to his own team. Sorry to the Giants fans listening. Okay, enough Viking ranting there. But I just, it sucks. It sucks. And I'm not sure what the answer is. It might be, it's probably to bring in a veteran and have him compete with JJ. That to me is what I would do right now. Find someone to battle for the job. Okay, Jaguars-Broncos. Probably the biggest game of the day, or the best game of the day on paper, where Jacksonville, Jacksonville's 11-4. I've been going in and beating Denver. You think about where Jacksonville was in 2023. 8-3, battling for the 1 seed, as Ziggy had predicted earlier in that offseason. And then Trevor Lawrence gets banged up. When he gets back, he goes 0-5. They miss the playoffs. Following year, he's dealing with injuries again. He's 2-8 as a starter, shut down in December, shoulder surgery. They fired Doug Peterson. And all of a sudden now, this once promising young roster has a new head coach in Liam Cohn, which, you can be excited about, but kind of getting made fun of for, this Duval press conference, a little goofy guy. And there's just all these questions about Trevor Lawrence. They start the year 4-1. Okay, starting to feel good here. Beat the Chiefs, right, in that epic night game. I think Sunday Night Football, right? Or a Monday Night Football game. And then they lose 3 of their next 4. 5-4 on the year. Trevor's got 10 touchdowns, 7 picks. And all of a sudden now, Liam Cohn, when you're losing games and you're a goofy dude, that doesn't make people believe in you. It feels like, okay, this thing's going to implode. And Trevor's not playing good football. And since then, now they've won 6 football games in a row. And Lawrence, the past 4 weeks in particular, has just been unbelievable. 12 touchdowns, no picks. You go into Denver today, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. A Denver defense that for the majority of the year, right? They're struggling right now, but for the majority of the year has been very good. Really tough place to play. Broncos have won 12 games in a row at home. They've won 11 games at home, 11 games overall in a row this season. And you go in there, and after a couple of sluggish start drives where I'm watching the game going, man, they had 3 sacks in the first quarter. This could be a long day for Trevor. He caught fire, and that offense was red hot. And you're sitting back watching this going, that's who you were promised, Jacksonville. Like, that's the player you were expecting to have with the number 1 overall pick. That's the guy who won national championship at Clemson. I mean, this dude can play. And I'm really happy for him. I like Trevor Lawrence. Everything I've heard about him sounds like a great dude. But, it's coming together right now. And when the Jaguars are sitting here at 11-4, again, the beautiful thing for these AFC fans, it's wide open. You just have no idea. Like, the Jaguars can go to the Super Bowl. The Jaguars can legitimately go to the Super Bowl. If they go to New England in the second round, like at this point in time, they'd host Buffalo, then they go to New England. I mean, it's not an easy path by any means. Most people would probably pick the Bills to beat them. But the way they're playing right now, the way that offense is humming, I mean, they've scored 34 points or more in 3 straight games. They beat the crap out of the Chargers in mid-November. Chargers team that looks pretty good right now. And that was one spot. Maybe you could look at who they're beating: Arizona, Tennessee, Indianapolis, the Jets. Like, all right, they're beating up on bad teams. Today it was the 1 seed. Today was the team that, I think they've I think the Broncos are a little overrated, but the Broncos are the 1 seed in the AFC in a place that they're really good. And Lawrence was just great today. And Etienne has been really good. And Liam Cohn now, I mean, guys, the Jaguars, like, you know how many 10-win seasons the Jaguars have the past 17 years? Just take a guess. 1. I mean, this is a team that they barely finished second in their division. Like, years when they come in second in the division, it's like, oh, wow, Jaguars had a great season here. Missed the playoffs. They were 9-8, but, damn, like, they didn't suck. And Liam Cohn, like, man, this guy can coach. And I think if you're a Jacksonville fan, you also love that, like, this guy's taking shots at Sean Payton after the game. And Sean Payton was commenting on how the Jacksonville is a small market team that's playing really well. And Liam Cohn comes down. He's like, yeah, small market team can come into Mile High and get it done. And you saw him earlier in the year. They beat the 49ers and getting a little chippy with Robert Saleh. I mean, Robert Saleh is, I'm sorry, if Robert Saleh and Liam Cohn go at it, right, Robert Saleh is kicking some ass. Like, Liam Cohn's not winning that fight. And you see him drawing with Saleh. That's where, you have the Duval guy that everyone makes fun of. Okay, like, nice to see him fight back a little bit here. And when when you're 11-4, you can talk your talk a little bit. And the Jaguars have been walking the walk as well. They're 11-4 with 2 games left. I mean, this is not a franchise that wins. And Cohn, man, right now, I mean, him and Ben Johnson, like, there's a lot of Coach of the Year candidates. When you have a season, like I said off the top of the show, with so many redemption arcs, it presents a lot of really strong candidates for Coach of the Year. And Liam Cohn should be right up there with all of them. On the other side of things for Denver, if this defense keeps playing the way they're playing, they're screwed. They are completely screwed. Bo Nix can be a very nice complementary piece to a team who has occasional hot moments. And when Bo's on, he's on. You gotta give him credit. The way he played in the second half against Green Bay, sure, that Green Bay team was a little stunned with the way things transpired in the third and fourth quarter of that game. But when he's on, I mean, he's pretty impressive. And I know a lot of people like to hate on Bo Nix, but I've had a number of games where I've walked away going, okay, like, if he can ever consistently do that, he's going to be around a long time. But in general, right, he's more of a guy that you just don't want to blow the game. And he's done a very nice job of that this year. He's had some clutch moments, big comebacks, not turning the ball over a ton, not getting sacked a ton. And the defense leads the way. But the past month or so, you saw Marcus Mariota and Washington light him up. You saw the Packers in the first half of that game a week ago. I mean, Jordan Love threw for like 250 yards. You were thinking Jordan Love was going to leave that game the MVP frontrunner. Now they bounced back nicely. But again, I think a little bit of that had to do with Green Bay just getting kind of shell-shocked at what was occurring with the injuries in that game. And then today, I mean, you just scorched again. So I understand that they're still the 1 seed. Mile High is still a place. Yeah, you can't ignore that they've won 12 games in a row there before today. But if there's some cracks and chinks in that armor, then, man, you got a real problem on your hands in Denver. And this is maybe it's another example of reacting too quickly and too strongly to individual games in the NFL. But we've seen it a couple weeks in a row now. That defense is just not the same as it was earlier in the year. Let me see. How many rushing yards did they give up today? 81 yards. So they were okay. And I know they've struggled there at times. Parker Washington, I barely even know him for Jacksonville. 145 yards and a touchdown. But you see a lot of run after the catch against Denver. Jacksonville did a nice job whenever the blitz came, just dumping it off where the blitz coming from and moving the chains. So I just be really, really wary of that if I were a Bronco fan, and it's something that could wind up costing them if the defense doesn't get their act together here. Another really big game was Bucs-Panthers, and I was kind of in and out of this game, but it felt like huge implications, of course, with the NFC South. Both these teams tied atop, but when they're 7-7, it's sort of like watching the Group of 5 championship game in college football. Like, yeah, you're interested a little bit, but this team's going to get hosed in the first round. like whoever wins this division is probably going to play the Rams in the first round. And I know Carolina beat the Rams earlier in the year, but gosh, if they wind up hosting LA again, you have to imagine the Rams are just going to beat the crap out of them. Like, that's my guess. But the the Panthers fine. I got my big cats mixed up there. The Panthers, though, find a way to win. Bryce Young, for the most part, I thought played really well today. Overcame some poor coaching decisions by Canales. The rushing attack was just not there again for Carolina. They've been weird with their rushing attack. There were some moments this year where Rico Dowdle looked like Barry Sanders, and then there are just games where they've sort of disappeared, and the rushing attack really wasn't there for Carolina. They end with 101 yards, but Bryce had 20 of those. Thinking about the future for Bryce Young right now, they need to decide on his 5th-year option next year. I think he's done enough. I actually talked to producer Zach watching the game saying, if you were Carolina, would you be comfortable with Bryce Young moving forward? And he said he would. And I don't blame him for, if you give the 5th-year option, see what you have another season, then you have a real decision on your hands. Quarterbacks go for a lot. They're not going to give Bryce Young $50 million a year. Like, if the season ended today and you said, all right, you keep Bryce Young and you don't, you're Carolina, you got to give him $50 million. I think every Carolina fan's going, probably not. At least I wouldn't. Again, I don't watch the Panthers as closely as everyone else, or as Panthers fans would. But, you see some of the problems that teams like the Dolphins, teams like the Broncos ran into when you're handing out these massive contracts to guys that might not necessarily deserve them. So I think they're going to wind up picking up the 5th-year option. Bryce is going to be playing for a big deal next year. If they win the division this year, which they're still not even favored to do, because they have to probably going to have to go into Tampa Bay and beat them, which I wouldn't expect in the last week of the season. And then next year he's going to have to show up, and you have to think the division will be better than 10-7 winning it. Maybe not. It really is bad. But that, at the very least, for Carolina, man, nice bounce back year where it's a win no matter what. And at this point, you want to get to the playoffs, but from where they were and where Bryce was, especially, for him to even be mentioned in picking up the 5th-year option, he's been benched twice. I'm really happy for him. I actually produced his show a couple years ago. He had the Bryce Young podcast, creative name, and when he was at Alabama. And he's a nice kid. I always thought he was a really nice dude. Good family. Talked with his dad a lot before shows started. And there's one thing Bryce Young has always been, and it is clutch. Going back to when he was at Bama, I'm just thinking they played Texas on the road. I remember the Auburn game. He had the 90-plus yard drive to win it and get Bama to eventually the championship game where they lost to Georgia. They beat Georgia, who had only lost. Actually, they hadn't lost at all for 2 years, except to Bryce Young in the SEC championship game, a game that kept Notre Dame out of the playoff, if I'm remembering correctly. It's very frustrating, actually. I was annoyed at Bryce, but he's a clutch player, and if it comes down to him and Baker in Week 18, Bryce will show up to that. I think he'll have a good game. On the other side of things, Tampa Bay, what an utter disaster. From where they were at the beginning of the year, top of everyone's power rankings, Baker was an MVP discussion. Emeka Egbuka was Rookie of the Year candidate. Not even candidate, slam dunk favorite. As a fantasy guy who I drafted Egbuka in all my leagues, what the hell is going on here? He scores under 10 points every single week, doesn't get involved. How the drop off of Ibuka's production has just been bewildering. You were looking at a guy who we thought was going to become a star in this league, and he still very well might, but he doesn't catch the ball anymore. He had one catch. It was a 40-yarder, but they don't get on the ball. And Tampa Bay's now lost 6 of their last 7 games, 3 of which, the last 3 have been division rivals. And I just said, this division sucks. You lose to the Falcons with Kirk, lose to the Saints, who I guess have found a rhythm with Shaw. And then Carolina today, who I'm still not particularly impressed by. But man, what just a disaster year for the Bucs, who, if you told them that you had to have 8 wins or 9 wins by week 16 to be in really good shape for the division back at the start of the year, every single Bucs fan would be like, okay, you're short. Duh. What? Yeah, we're going to have 12 or 13. We're going to be competing for the 1 seed. And Baker is just that interception at the end. Yeah, I know him and Evans weren't on the same page, but You saw the game against Atlanta, the mistakes they're making. Kyle Pitts is the best game of his career. Obviously, we know that on this channel after Zig or Zag. It's just been a nightmare. And they're still in pretty good position because they play the Dolphins next week. Panthers play Seattle. The only way that Week 18 game isn't a winner-take-all is if Tampa loses to the Dolphins and the Panthers beat Seattle, which, with this season, who knows? But you have to expect that not to happen. So we should have, look, maybe we have Sunday Night Football, winner-take-all NFC South. I don't know. You feel good about that game on Sunday Night Football? Like, how many people are going to be watching that? Usually you have a winner-take-all division game. Everyone's glued to their TV, but it's like, I don't know. Maybe I'll just watch a movie with my family. So, let me see. All right, the last game I'm going to hit here. Then I'll briefly bring in Green Bay and Chicago. Bills-Browns. James Cook, another guy my dad has on his fantasy team. He's been special for most of the season. Right now, he leads the league in rushing. We'll see if Taylor can surpass him on Monday night or tonight. Recording this late Sunday night. Most people, I imagine, will be listening on Monday morning. But James Cook, man, Josh Allen needs a Robin, and James Cook, especially of late, has just been great. The first half today against the Browns, he was running wild. Slowed down in the second half. The Cleveland defense, we know they're a good defense. They stepped up, made life difficult for Josh all day. But James Cook was the reason this Bills offense was going. He's had 4 touchdowns the past 2 weeks for people in their fantasy playoffs. Just unbelievable. Leads the league in rushing. Most rushing yards for a Bills player since O.J. Simpson. He's just been great. But there is, we do have concerns still about the Bills. And I came on this show a number of times now over the past few weeks saying this has to be the year for Buffalo. And I still stand by that because of who's at the top. And more importantly, because of who's not in the picture. Burrow, Lamar's not going to make it. Mahomes isn't going to make it. I stand by that. This is the year they need to go on that run. But when you look up and down that roster, you're just going, all right, outside of Cook, who is there for Josh Allen to throw the football to? Who's there to make a play for them? Khalil Shakir, Jackson Hawes, Tyrell. I don't know who Tyrell Shavers is. Dawson Knox dropping touchdown passes. It's not good. They have no weapons. Run defense is terrible. They've been bad all year there. I guess one spot you're fortunate with is there's really not too many of the top rushing teams in the AFC playoff picture right now. Maybe you get the Chargers, and with Hampton back, I thought Hampton looked really good today. But there are a lot of holes on this team. And I think for a lot of people, the initial thought of seeing Buffalo and the other teams that are in the AFC field is, okay, they can go on a run. They will go on the run. But when you really step back and you're looking at everything about this team, there are real concerns. And they're going to have to do it on the road for a majority, if not the entirety, of their run to the Super Bowl. Now, I do believe in Josh Allen. But, today he was not very good. 12 for 19, 130 yards. You didn't get MVP Josh Allen today. And they won because James Cook stepped up. They won because Greg Rousseau had 2.5 sacks. In the year, I think he has 4 before today. He had a sack and a half on the final 2 Cleveland drives when they had a chance to tie or take the lead. He forced the intentional grounding on Shedeur at the end of the game that really killed that drive. But you don't want to be in a position where Shedeur Sanders and the Browns, who have just been terrible on offense, can go and win the game. The Browns made a comeback on Buffalo and had 2 opportunities to win the football game, or at least tie it and send it to overtime. And if you lose to Cleveland, a 3-12 team, Shedeur's banged up, they lose Quinshon Judkins. That's a horrible loss. Now they won and they're 11-4, but man, there is a degree of there are problems with this team. And I think that is, again, a reason to believe if you're a fan of any other AFC team here. Gun to my head, I'd take Josh Allen, and I'm probably picking Buffalo right now. New England looked good tonight in Baltimore at the end there, but it's a little shaky. It's a little shaky with the Bills. Real quick on New England, I just want to say I don't know how many people. I didn't watch a ton of this game because I was just doing other stuff around the house. I've been watching football all day. but I tuned in for the very end. And when they're down 24-13 in the fourth quarter, and Drake Maye played great. He just turned it on. He looked like an MVP tonight. Every single time I'm watching Drake Maye, hearing the MVP chants, seeing the Patriots record, I keep going, damn it, that's who the Vikings wanted. And he's just been awesome. I mean, he's been really, really good. Diggs had a couple big-time plays tonight. One of the most egregious calls I've ever seen in my life, I think was it the pass to Kayshon Boutte at the end of the game there. On the drive, the Patriots ultimately wound up scoring the game-winning touchdown. Marlon Humphrey just tackled Boutte, and there's no flag, right? But it was kind of a weird play where Humphrey tackles him, and the pass looks like it's caught, then it's dropped, and everyone's kind of waiting around for the flag to be thrown. You hear Tirico and Collinsworth like, okay, we gonna throw this thing? And it's never, they brought in the rules official, and he's like, I don't understand how that's not a flag. What are we doing in these games? I mean, this is a big time game. If the Ravens win that, they keep their season alive. Now it's on life support. And the Patriots are still battling for the 1 seed. Sunday Night Football, and we're not making that call. I mean, come on. I don't like to, this show's a positive show, but dude, what are we doing? When there are these plays where it's so obvious, I don't know what the rule is about New York calling in. Obviously they couldn't do it, but has to be better than that. And again, for New England to come in, obviously Lamar Jackson gets hurt, and he's just been having a year from hell himself, where it's been clear Lamar, as someone who traded for Lamar, I've been making way too many fantasy references tonight, but as someone who traded for Lamar Jackson in fantasy football for the playoff run, he has not been himself. Probably still bothered by that hamstring. Tonight he leaves with a rib injury. He's been under the weather. I don't know what's happening with Lamar Jackson, but look, when he's not himself, this Baltimore team, they're not going to win the Super Bowl this year, even if they got into the playoffs. And it might just be the best thing for them to, obviously you need to, if he can go next week, you're still in it. He needs to get out there, but it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world if he's like, all right, I can't do it. Just pack it up next season. They won't do that. And you can't do that again if he's healthy, because you're a, fluky Steeler loss to the Browns, who you never know when these AFC North teams play. But it doesn't look good when Baltimore's going into Green Bay and the Browns are playing, the Steelers are playing the Browns, and you need both of those to go in your favor. So, man, we could be getting Tyler Huntley and Malik Willis perhaps in that Packers-Ravens game. But the Patriots, the heart of a champion there. Obviously, they have not won anything yet, this version of them, but they've had a spectacular season, and they would probably be my number 2 after Buffalo at this point in time. I'm going to have to do some reflecting on this, because Jacksonville's right in there. It's weird to be like, yeah, I think the Jags are going to go to the Super Bowl, but they're playing great football right now. Real quickly on the Packers and what they need to have happen here, because today was a good day. Sunday was a good day to be a Packer fan. I understand that Saturday night was crushing and frankly incomprehensible for the way that football game ended. I'm going to talk about a lot more this week with the guys, and we'll have Andy come on, and Andy seems to be out of his depression. Maybe, I don't know about that game. But Green Bay was dealt a huge hand by the Pittsburgh Steelers, who a lot of us assumed were going to lose in Detroit. And the Packers find themselves in a situation where they need one of these things to happen to clinch the playoffs. Beat Baltimore, potentially without Lamar. Beat the Vikings last week of the season, which obviously, easier said than done. They need the Lions to lose to the Vikings next week. Again, going into Minnesota. We'll see what happens. Or lose at Chicago last week of the season. One of those 4 things happen, Green Bay is in the playoffs. And in all likelihood, they will be going to Chicago. A rematch of the game we just had. A rematch of the game where the Packers kind of kicked ass for 3.5 quarters. And Chicago has this fairy tale ending. Yes, Caleb, I need to address it. Caleb was unbelievable at the end of that game. I feel like a lot of Bears fans thought I was being disrespectful in the instant reaction, saying that I didn't think Chicago played too well during the first 3.5 quarters where they were down 16-6. I didn't think that was crazy. I did not mean to insinuate that Caleb did not bounce back in an awesome fashion to close that. with clutch drives, big time throws. I mean, it's freezing cold in Chicago. He's rifling the ball. It's windy. That last touchdown pass, you saw the field goal post, right? I mean, you saw the way that the kicks were moving. It takes a strong arm to launch that thing in the freezing cold, wind whipping around to DJ Moore 50 yards down the field. I mean, picture perfect pass wins the game. That's a big time throw. That's a superstar throw. I did not mean to diss Caleb Williams in Chicago yesterday and how they responded to the ball bouncing their way. It's one thing to have that happen. It's another thing to take advantage of it. And they did. So to any Bears fans who are upset by that, I apologize. I didn't mean for it to come off that way. I just thought Green Bay was the better team. And they were for the majority of the game. But you're right in saying it's 60 minutes. It's not 58. It's a 60-minute game. And this one went to overtime. This one was a little more. And the Bears made the plays they needed to there. And Green Bay didn't. So the Bears are in a position now where if they beat San Francisco, they win the NFC North next week. The Packers need one of those things to happen with the Lions, and we're going to get a rematch, and that game is going to be awesome. You have to hope Jordan Love is okay with the concussion here. The fan bases are ignited. I mean, man, that will be a lot of fun. Chicago was on fire yesterday. That stadium, it felt like a college game, and it's awesome to see that. Yeah, as a Viking fan, I don't want to have the Bears win the Super Bowl or anything, but the Bears are one of those teams that when they're better, football is better, right? It just is. When the Cowboys are better, it's a little more intriguing. These brands mean something, and a lot of them are saying the rivalry's back on. The Bears don't do that. What I was going to come in yesterday and lead the show with was this was the ultimate "Who's Your Daddy" game from Green Bay. To have your starting quarterback go down in Love and Malik Willis comes in and just looks awesome, right? And they shut you down. That was a "Who's Your Daddy" game from the Packers. That maybe there's got to be some curse on the 2025 Green Bay Packers and some magic, some dark magic with the Chicago Bears. Someone's selling souls in Chicago, with the way this season's gone. But the way they turn that thing around and they're saying this rivalry's back on, and it is. I mean, man, it is. The mental toughness from Chicago that they've shown really all season. And Caleb, I heard a lot of people talking about how Caleb is mentally tougher right now. Or just a mentally tough guy. And I don't think that's actually always been the case. Earlier in the year, I mean, just look at week 1 against the Vikings, right? He comes out, they have that awesome drive to start. He runs in a touchdown the opening drive. Chicago's rocking. JJ throws the pick 6. But then the Vikings defense settles in and Caleb's overthrows, holding the ball too long. He looked like the Caleb Williams of last year. And if you want to think about, mentally falling apart, look at the way the Bears lost some of their games, right? The Thanksgiving game, they didn't get the playoff. And I think there were a lot of immaturity issues with Caleb. And then you have this summer, the video leaks, or the video comes out of him throwing the ball at the net, and he's freaking out, and which is not a big deal. He's a football player, whatever. But you just start hearing more and more of these stories in the draft, and he doesn't want to go to Chicago. He's going to throw a fit, and it's like, my gosh, can we just calm down here and play football? And this is where I do think that Ben Johnson and the culture that they've developed, right? You hear that word culture a lot, and I think it loses some of its value when it's talked about to the degree that it is in sports media, but it really does matter. I mean, these teams we're talking about here, the Jaguars, the Bears, Denver, right? Where they came from with Josh McDaniels, and now with Sean Payton, and the Lions and Campbell. Coaching matters and culture matters. And it's something that you can't ignore and just say it's just a talking point on ESPN or Fox, whatever. No, it matters. And Ben Johnson coming into Chicago and putting this mindset that the Bears just, whatever the hell their chant is about doing the best or being your best, they really act like that. And you see them making these big time plays that the Bears have not done. And then the Eberflus Bears were a disaster. Complete disaster. Embarrassing. And now they're winning these games. They're beating the Packers. And when things do go their way, they make you pay. So, yeah, like it matters. And here we are now where we're going to have a really fun, I really hope we get Bears-Packers and a rematch. Bears-Packers 3. Because the first two games, both of them have come down to the Bears having a fourth down, within 10 yards. They didn't get it the first in Green Bay. They converted in Chicago. I mean, they've been just great games, and it's good for football. When that rivalry is peaking, it is strong. It's great for the NFL. All right. Yeah, we'll wrap it up there. I guess a fun day. Yeah, when I know I came into the show and was saying maybe a little boring at times, but no, I mean, this is a fun day of football. It's been a tough football season for me across college and the NFL, but we're going to have a fun playoffs, and we're going to have a fun close to the season here. The NFC North teams, especially that we focus on. A Detroit win today would have really made things interesting, but Bears-Packers first round, if we get that, and we're not complaining here on the Paul Farrington Show. So, all right, we'll wrap it up. And again, if you could throw a subscription our way, we're trying real hard to get to 30K. Again, a lot of ups and downs during the football season for both teams and the media covering them. But if you could help us out in any way, that'd be much appreciated. Again, you can always go to our show store to support the channel. We got a couple cool shirts with our logo on them. The I Love Love shirt for Packers fans has always been a good seller. If you want to support the Notre Dame cause, we have Catholics First Committee. No one seems to want to do that. That's fine. I get it. But if you feel inclined to do so, that shirt is there as well. And it would be very helpful. One more thing. I know I'm just asking people to do things kind of ridiculous, but if you are on Twitter or Instagram, following our show account would help us a lot too, as we're trying to build that out. Maybe a really fun sponsorship coming this week. Need to confirm it. Not quite sure if it's real, but if it is, it should be a lot of fun. See you with Andy Herman in a couple days.